Hi everyone, welcome to an advanced tutorial of Pear Deck. If you haven't already, make sure you get acquainted with Google Slides as well as the beginnings of Pear Deck, how to create those lessons, integrating Pear Deck into your current Google Slides. All of those things are things hopefully that you have learned, and now you're here to learn some more. Some of the main pieces that we're going to be looking at today are the teacher dashboard of Pear Deck and all of the amazing things that can be used with that, as well as inviting co-teachers to your presentation, and also using the student pace mode, whether you're asynchronous or in small groups or even for homework. Pear Deck can be a great resource for your students no matter where they are or what you want them to accomplish. And right now I'm in a Google Slides presentation that I'm going to present utilizing Pear Deck. Again, these slides have already been shaped and made the way that I want them to be for my Pear Deck lesson. So I pressed Start Lesson up at the top. It opened a new tab for me, and it's going to give me this code and tell students to go to joinpdd.com. Rather than that, I always give students the link, then they don't have to go about typing in that code, especially for the little ones. You can put that link in their Seesaw, Google Classroom, into the Zoom chat, Google Meets, however you want to go about doing it, so that way they have that link and then they can get in right away just by signing into their Google account. Normally, I would X out of this when students are in, and I would start my presentation. But today, we're going to go one step further, and we're going to press on Open Teacher Dashboard. Now, there's more than one spot to find the teacher dashboard. It's up by the code where I pointed out earlier. You could also go down to the three dots and press Open Dashboard in a new window. Opening in a new device, we'll talk about a little bit later. When I press Open in a new window, it's going to open a separate window and have my teacher dashboard in place. And you'll notice that it looks relatively similar to my projector view. So let's talk about kind of the differences between the two and why I would even want to use the teacher dashboard. Now you'll notice the teacher dashboard is set up very similar with the arrows down at the bottom. So when I move forward in my teacher dashboard, my entire slides presentation moves forward. So I'm sure you're thinking, what's the point in the dashboard then? Well, the whole point of the dashboard is to have this window running on a separate screen than your projector screen. You would not have it like this to where they're overlapping each other, because that would be pointless. The whole point of the teacher dashboard is only for the teacher. That way you can see specific students' responses, you can set timers for them, you can lock out their screens, you can give them feedback, so many other things we're going to talk about today. But the whole point of this is that this is in a different screen that the students don't see. So for example, if this was my projector screen or my smartboard, my teacher dashboard would be on my laptop screen. So I would have them running as two separate screens, so that way I can see the dashboard, I can move forward, backward, all sorts of other things, without my students seeing what it is that is coming and all of that other stuff. Now let's take a look at how this might look like in real time with the projector view, teacher dashboard, and student view all simultaneously. So right now I'm taking a look at the projector view of what the teacher is showing to the class. On the student's end, here's what their question looks like. This is set up as a draw slide. Now, in my teacher dashboard, what the student doesn't see is I can see in real time what the students are going to be typing. So you see there's nothing here yet. I can also lock student screens at any time if I want to get their attention. So now if I go back to the student view, it says that the screen is locked. So that is a great feature of the teacher dashboard as well. In addition to locking the screens though, I can also click and hold the lock screens button and set a timer. This timer will be set on your screen and the student's screens as well, to let them know that they have, for example, a minute before time is up and you're going to talk about things as a class. So now as a student, I could type in here and share my answer. Once I'm good there, I can sit tight. I could also, since this is a draw slide, let me underline some things. And there we go. Bam, I'm done. Now what you don't see right now is on the teacher dashboard. I'm going to pause this timer here. On the teacher dashboard, I can see everything that the student has written in real time. But on the projector view, nobody sees that yet. So remember, this is the view that is on your projector screen. Nobody sees anything, but on your screen, on your laptop or on another device or wherever you have this dashboard, you already see in real time the view of what your student is typing and exactly who that student is. You can also in real time leave feedback for the student. I've already left one, but let's say I want to add more. Great work. I'm going to send that feedback to that student. And then on the student's end, they're going to see a little notification pop up that says you have feedback. So in real time, you can give feedback to your students and let them know that they're doing a great job or to tweak something without calling them out in front of the entire class. Now, let's say that all students are finished with this question and you would like to show this in your projector view. How would you do that? Well, you would click on Show Responses, and you can do that on the teacher dashboard, and you can also do that on your projector screen. Either one will work just fine. When you press Show Responses, I'm going to put my teacher dashboard back up. I can physically scroll through and click on the slides that I want to show, and there's more than one layout. Right now I'm in the list layout. I could go to the grid layout, which on the projector view would show a smaller version of that slide, and I could also go to an overview layout. That would be more for a draggable slide, which I'll show you in a little bit. But this list layout works great. Notice also that while I can see what student this is on the teacher dashboard, the students on the projector side will not be able to see what student typed what. So that alleviates some of that privacy to where students might feel uncomfortable sharing something if they know their name is going to pop up on the screen. But if you let them know that it's anonymous, they might be more likely to answer with confidence. In addition to the feedback feature at the bottom, there are also two other buttons. I'm going to go to my grid view just to make it a little bit smaller. You can also star specific answers in real time. And what the star feature does is when you press Show Responses, it is only going to show those that you starred. In addition to this, you can also press these three dots and hide specific responses if you didn't want to show one or two, but you wanted to show the rest. If I hid this response and pressed Show Responses, there would be nothing to show because that's my only current student. And again, I could change this in real time and just refresh it. It's going to show exactly what the answer was that I had hidden before. Just to give you one other example, here is a draggable slide. So I'm in the projector view. Here's the student's view. And they're to drag the correct ways of using technology and the incorrect ways of using technology, right? And when they drag those over on the teacher dashboard, again, I can see exactly what this student is doing. Right now, I'm in the overlaid layout. This will show what all students are dragging at the same time. If I wanted to show a specific student, I could just go here and I would be able to see exactly what that student did as well as my grid layout, which would be a lot smaller. I love the overlaid layout because that will give you an overview exactly what your class is doing. I'm going to show these responses here. If I go back to my presentation, here's what it looks like for the students when I'm showing my projection. But what else is cool about the draggable is at the bottom, you can highlight specific pieces if you only want students to focus on one at a time. So for example, there is that X down at the bottom, and that would show all of the X's for that one. Same thing with this check, and I can just unhighlight it to show all of them again. It's another great feature of the teacher dashboard that otherwise wouldn't be there. Now, at any given time, you can also add a new prompt into your presentation, even if it's not in Google Slides. Just so you know, you can also do this without the teacher dashboard, but it's nice to do it with the dashboard because then students wouldn't see that you're adding a new prompt. All I have to do is press Add New. And if it's during class, maybe you want to get an idea for how they're feeling about this topic. I could click there and it's automatically going to create a slide within my presentation that has that within there. It's automatically going to pop up for me as a student within that presentation. And I can drag the dot to how I'm feeling on the dashboard. It's going to update and show what all the students are feeling. And again, you could show exactly a specific student, show the grid layout or the overview of all of your students. A few other quick features of the teacher dashboard at the bottom with those three dots of the dashboard. I can invite a co-teacher. Now, please take note that this is only an option within your teacher dashboard, not in the projector view. So if I press the three dots in the projector view, I can turn on student pace, which we'll talk about in a minute here, but I cannot invite a co-teacher. That is only within the teacher dashboard that I can do that. So please take note of that. When I press invite co-teacher, it's going to give me a link. I can send that via email or however I want to get that to my co-teacher so that way they can view this dashboard in real time along with me, give feedback, progress through the slides, all of those things to make life a little bit easier and keep everyone involved. We'll talk about the student paced mode in just a minute, but just so you know, student paced is accessible via the teacher dashboard or the projector view at any time, and I'll show you a few other spots where that is as well. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you how to start a student-paced lesson. This could be for if you have an asynchronous day where some students are at home and you want them to do some learning. Maybe it is for small groups when you're meeting with another group. Maybe it's for homework or independent time. All of these pieces, you can still utilize Pear Deck, whether it's now during a pandemic or years from now when things are back to normal. So what I want to do is I'm going to press Start Lesson. And this time I'm going to press student paced activity. Just so you know, you could still press instructor paced activity and change it from there. When I press student paced activity, it is going to pull up just a little bit different because I'm setting this presentation up to be fully student paced. And this time, it's going to give me the link that I need to copy for students. You could also share this to Google Classroom if you have one. I would just press copy link and copy that wherever I want to go. Then I'm going to press go to teacher dashboard. Here's my teacher dashboard where I can see all the students' work happening later down the road. I could just close out of this tab now, even if I wanted to. Even if this isn't running, the student paste link that I send to students is still going to work, and they would be able to go through this presentation on their own. Now, what I've done is I've signed in as a student using that link that I copied from the teacher dashboard. And you can see now that the student has the ability to move forward in the slides, whereas in instructor pace mode, this was not an option. So the student could actually go through, and you can see I've done some of these already, but the student can go through and add their responses, right, to each of these slides. And once they're finished, then they could X out. Even if they've closed out, you would still have all of that data as a teacher. You could take a look at this data live in the teacher dashboard, and you could also see exactly where students are on what slides if you wanted to. So I can see in my class roster, I can see who had signed in, who's in right now. I can see one student is on this slide right here, and if I click here, I can even see which students are where. Now in your teacher dashboard, if you were to press end here, because it's in student pace mode, it's going to ask you if you want to leave and allow students to keep working, or if you want to end this session completely. For me, I'm going to end this, but you could always just leave and allow students to keep working through the rest of the day or week or however you have it set up, and they can go back and view that data at a later point in time, and all of the students' responses will still be there. So I'm going to end this session here because I'd like to show you one other method that I might use, and I'm going to show you how you can go about using this instructor pace mode and embedding student pace into that. So I'm going to press instructor pace this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be given that same link. And again, I would go through all of the same process of getting students in. But I'm on instructor pace mode, and I want to show you how I can change from instructor pace to student pace within the same presentation to give students a little bit more freedom and independence within a lesson. Now, what I've done is I've gone back into an instructor pace lesson where a student is signed in, but they can only move slides when I move the slides for them. But let's say I got to this point in my lesson about midway through, and I want students to answer the next two multiple choice questions on their own where they can move through the slides by themselves. What would I do? I can press the three dots here and head into student paced mode. I can turn this on and off at any given time in my presentation. So I'm going to turn on student paced mode and just press OK, I got it. Now when I go over to my student, you can see that I can answer the question and move forward in my slide, answer the next question, and continue from there. Now, the one troubling piece of this is that if you don't want students to go to a certain point, you might put a stop sign in on the slide, but there's no way of stopping them completely from going to the next slide. But keep in mind that you can still see in your teacher dashboard exactly where your students are. So you can tell them that you can see exactly where they are, and if they go further than the slide that they're supposed to, there may be a consequence for that because that might ruin the learning from other students. Then once you're done with student pace mode, you can click the three dots again, turn off student pace mode. It's going to bring students right back to where you were in the beginning, still with their multiple choice answer, and you could show responses and go from there. Now, one of the biggest questions that I hear from Pear Deck users when they're talking about student pace lessons is if they have the little ones or they have 9 readers or struggling readers, how do you go about giving a student pace lesson if students cannot fully read what is on the slide? And the answer to that is to add audio to your slides using the Pear Deck feature. Now, when I press add audio to this specific slide, it's going to say working, and it's going to allow me to record my voice on this slide. And what I would do is I would record exactly what is written on this slide here. So I would say, I'm getting ready to head to school. I put my computer in my backpack right next to my water bottle so I don't forget anything. What do you think? Is this a do or a don't? I can save this here, and then I can play it back for myself. So that's the way that I want it. So I'm going to press add audio to slide. It's going to put a little microphone, a little headphones and says audio included. Make sure that you don't mess around with that. You could make it bigger to let students know that there is audio there, but you don't have to because the headphone icon is going to be in the bottom for them, which I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But now I have audio added to this slide, so that way students can go through in a student pace mode, regardless of whether they're a struggling reader or not, and complete this question. All right, what I've gone ahead and done is I've started my teacher presentation again. And let's say that I'm to this point in my presentation right before that audio slide. And I'm going to press my three dots and turn on student pace mode. Keep in mind, I could have created this entire presentation student paced as well. It just depends on what you want to do with your students. Signed in as a student here. When I go to this next arrow now, you're going to see a couple new things. It says audio included, and in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see a pair of headphones now. If I press here, I can press play, and it's going to play back that audio that I had created in my slide. So you'll have to direct students here that first time or two and let them know if they see headphones here. That means that you've recorded your voice and you want them to listen to something first before they answer the question. Now, to show you an additional feature, let's say that your lesson is completed, whether it is a student-paced lesson or teacher-paced or a blended piece of both. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press end session here. I could do this from the teacher dashboard or from the projector screen. And I'm going to give this session a name, say do's and don'ts. You can see right now, they're set to publish student takeaways. What this is going to do is it's going to create a file for every single student in my Google Drive and show all of the answers that they created. Keep in mind, though, that if you press Publish Student Takeaways, it's also going to send students an email showing just their responses. So this wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. If your students don't have email accounts, you don't have to worry about this. But if they do, it is going to send them an email letting them know that here is a copy of the presentation and here's any of their responses. So it will show that. But I'm going to save an end with this session, and I'd like to show you where it's going to show these responses in my Google Drive. You don't necessarily need this link unless you're going to share this specific link with students and you want them to see their own file. You could also share this to Google Classroom, but I'm more interested in where I can see this as a teacher. Alrighty, what I've done is I've gone to my Google Drive, and what you're going to see now is that I have a folder that is called Pear Deck. When I go into Pear Deck, I'm going to focus on the takeaways section for now. When I double click takeaways, you can see that the do's and don'ts of using my device is what the Google Slides presentation was called. When I click here, now here is the session that I called do's and don'ts. And here are the files from my students showing exactly what they did in their presentation. So if I double click here, it's going to show the student's name as well as any answers that they put in these responses. So if I scroll down here, you can see the student put the number 2 for this one. They finished out the slide doing this. The multiple choices, it shows what they answered. All of those pieces are built within this doc, so that way you have this. You could even use this later for student conference, parent conference, formative assessment, an actual assessment that would be graded. All of those pieces you can still use, even if the lesson was student-paced and the students and you were not looking at the same thing at the same time. You can still utilize this within your Drive. A couple other quick little tidbits with Pear Deck. I'm on peardeck.com. I'm going to go into my teacher account on Pear Deck's site. What's really nice about this is it offers a lot of great features, but I can also present directly from here with Google Slides that I've used previously. I can also go into my sessions and see every single session that I have, any ones that are live, and also at any given time, even on this dashboard, change a certain lesson to student-paced, end the lesson, archive the lesson, or rename it. I can also open up the teacher dashboard of any live lessons that I have going at any given time, or the classroom view of any of those live lessons as well. And notice, even if the session is closed, I could still pull up the teacher dashboard of this lesson to see exactly what students were doing. So even if I close the session and a week later I want to look at some responses or specifically one student what they answered, I could still do that using this. So lots of great features here as well in the Pear Deck Sessions tab. Last few pieces here, if I'm looking at my closed sessions, few other options. If I press my 3 dots, I could reopen this session, so that way I could go back into projector view and show students responses a day or 2 or a week or even a month later. I could also rename this session, I could archive it. I could get my takeaways right here. So if I forget when I end the session, I can get my takeaways and it will send it to my Google Drive just as I did before. I can also export this to a Google spreadsheet, which will give all the answers from all of the students in one spot. This is nice, but only if you're using multiple choice or text answers. Using the draw slides or the draggable slides, they aren't going to show up on this Excel spreadsheet, so you may not want to use that. You might be better off with the takeaways. If I press the takeaways button, just as I did before, I would publish the takeaways for this session, And again, it would send an email to students letting them know that that presentation is published to them and they could see their answers, but it's also going to create a file for you in your Google Drive just as it did before. So if you've forgotten to publish those takeaways in the session when it's ending, you could always go into peardeck.com into your sessions and do it from here. So just to review, today we talked about the teacher dashboard in Pear Deck and all the amazing features of that. We talked about adding co-teachers into our Pear Deck lessons. We talked about student-paced lessons and making those things asynchronous or for small groups or for homework. On those even remote learning days, for example, we talked about how to add audio slides into those to make them even more beneficial and impactful for students that are maybe struggling readers or those younger learners. We also talked about the Pear Deck main site, and those sessions, and how to get takeaways from those lessons, whether you're looking at data a week from now or a month from now. You still have access to all the data from every session of any Pear Deck that you've ever done. It's a great feature to utilize. Hopefully this video was beneficial for you in taking that next step with your Pear Deck journey. I'll see you guys next time.